Hi, you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, welcome. How are you? I'm Georgia. It is Monday night, and it is the 14th of October, 2013. I'm in the studio with a couple of my favorite people. It's pretty awesome.
It's not working. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Check. Nope.
Oh, go ahead. Talk.
Hi.
You're working.
Okay. Phew. We thought we had a little crisis, but we don't. Welcome. It's the 10th month, the 14th day, the 2013th
No,
year.
it's actually right here.
And we don't know how to plug. we don't know how to plug in mics. Welcome, I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm in the studio with my absolute favorite guest of all times, which is Warren Edson. Hi, honey.
Hey, I was really confused. I was looking for Mark Sisti.
Actually, truth be told,
I had to go out and look. He wasn't playing pinball, which is kind of where I expected him to be.
Mark is definitely one of my faves.
No, he's not here.
No.
No.
But I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about some interesting things. And of course, we're in the studio with my who started out as my producer and now has become a good friend of mine, Chris. Hi.
Hello.
And of course, we've got some puppies here, and we have a day off of school, and the federal government is closed, not just because the federal government is closed, but also because it's a national holiday, and it's a day called Columbus Day, and I'm so terribly offended. I'm so terribly offended about Columbus Day. I have to say, I spent a significant amount of time explaining to people, my son included, about why we aren't celebrating the discovery of America, and I hate that. And I'm so glad that I just realized that our son is locked out of the office, and that's where Warren just went. I'm so frustrated that for so many years we have said that a national holiday is the day of the person who was the first European to step foot, and that's not even true because Leif Erikson was the first European to step foot on what we consider American soil. But nonetheless, this is Native Americans had been here for hundreds upon hundreds of years. And so today is not the day to celebrate Italians. It's not the day to celebrate Columbus. It's not the day to celebrate Spaniards. Today is the day that we celebrate Native Americans and recognize that we have all but lost their great culture. And if we pay attention to today, instead of calling it Columbus Day, and celebrate our Native American roots, I think that it will be a much better use of time. Speaking of good use of time, we've got some exciting things going on this evening. Warren's here because we're going to talk about a couple of things that are going on locally that have some national, international impact. The Denver City Council had a pretty crazy meeting of their retail marijuana subcommittee today. And the City Council subcommittee consists of all of the city council members because no one wanted to miss out on that great bit of fun. So we're going to talk about what they talked about today and what Mayor Hancock, who I proudly did not vote for, what he is proposing that the city council address and pass into law. And then we're also going to talk about this really controversial Proposition AA, which is the law to a statewide measure that will institute a excise and sales tax on retail sales of marijuana, not medical marijuana, but adult use marijuana. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the pros and cons of that. Sometimes I feel like I'm on the wrong side of this issue numbers wise, but not by philosophy, theory, what's right and what's wrong. So Warren, City Council today met, their subcommittee on marijuana met to do two things today. One is to get an update on what's going on with applications for retail sales.
Yep.
And then second thing was to talk about, I don't think it's too dramatic to say, this hideous bill that Mayor Hancock had Nevitt
Well, and that's what's interesting. I mean, Nevitt clearly co-wrote it. Now, how
Now, for those of you that
much-
don't know, Nevitt has been very marijuana friendly and has been
And great.
He sat on the amendment. He was a member of the Amendment 64 task force. He sat on subcommittees. He spearheaded so many of our good legislation in Denver.
And they've tagged it 13-736. Not that you can find it under that, but that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Basically, what it would do is we got a number of pages that I don't even know if we need to kind of sort of go through. Today was the first meeting on it. There's going to be 2 or 3 more meetings. The next one might be October 28th, but it might be, what did they say?
November
4th?
11th is when it's scheduled for, but that's
A holiday.
Veterans Day, and so they're going to have to postpone it to the following Tuesday, which is the 12th. But if they can prepare themselves early enough for some rewrites, then they could meet on the 28th.
With the basic deal being the city and county of Denver wants to outlaw the open and public display,
Possession.
consumption. We have to
Sorry.
break it down into 3 things because there's one possession, i.e., like in your pocket or wherever. Then there's display, meaning somebody can see it. And then there's consumption where you and other folks can see it. And they want to outlaw that and that's what they're discussing, as well as in what did they define it as 3 different situations or 4?
3.
Okay. Because what they talked about where you're using it in a public setting and public people can see it. They talked about you using it in a private setting where public people can see it. And they talked about you using it in a private setting where private people can see it. And when I say see it, that's wrong, because they talked about both possessing it, seeing it, and smelling it. Yeah, which added the interesting twist.
Now, for those of you who have heard, Denver has a smellometer, and the smellometer originally was for noxious fumes from businesses. And so I'd use the example of a town that has a paper mill, and the paper mill smell.
How about a town that has a pig ear factory?
Okay, same difference. You can only have.
Like at, 30th and Walnut?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can only have a smell that is noxious, a commercial smell that's noxious to X number of
But
people.
You're getting, I mean, then we have to get into 5 complaints within a 72-hour period or whatever the hell
Right.
it is. Yada, yada, yada. This is more basic than that, okay? If I walked into my backyard, even if I had a 16-foot privacy fence and smoked a joint and my neighbor smelled it, under some versions of this, I could get a ticket. And let's talk about the possible punishment.
Yeah.
Because they didn't cap it, which means it falls back to municipal law, which is $999 and up to a year in jail. And you heard me right, a year in jail. Currently, most people don't know that public use in Denver carries with it up to 15 days in jail. And I was surprised that wasn't brought up at all today. But that's the current ordinance, and the city and county of Denver openly uses that to say, hey, you know, man, if you force us to go to trial to challenge us, we will ask for jail time if and when you lose to, you know, get you to cop a plea. And I mean that even right now, today, post-64 world.
Well, and help me understand, Warren. So already it is illegal to smoke in public.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so why would we need to do this all over again?
Because in part you're expanding it and making it more automatic and also giving you, increased punishment possibilities.
See, here's what I think. What I think is that the opposition to Proposition AA had their big marijuana joint giveaway a couple of weeks ago, and the mayor felt like he got smacked in the face.
Okay, but no, it's broader than that. Though.
No, I'm not done that.
But there's clearly been complaints along the 16th Street Mall. And then there's a number of members of city council who wanted to get involved with this. And so we have a joint giveaway. We have a 420 thing that's exploding. And, we frankly have a medical marijuana industry, soon to be recreational, that doesn't want any of that publicity. And so we end up where we are now.
Well, but I think I think that's an almost a complicated version. Like I think that the mayor felt like he was he was smacked in the face and embarrassed by this joint giveaway, which I kind of
So why are we talking about people's backyards? Why are we talking about standing on the sidewalk and looking in a window and seeing somebody using cannabis and being able to not go in their house, arrest them for public display?
But isn't that an unintended consequence of a poorly written proposition?
No. I mean, today was kind of proof of that, because when one of the council women acted like, how did we get to looking in a window? Attorney
Knish,
David,
by the way, Robin Knish.
it was not.
Oh.
No, it was. I want to say it was Jeannie Robb, but I'm not even sure it was that. I mean, because she was.
Jeannie Franz.
It
Franz,
was right.
whatever.
Yeah, it was right off the beginning.
Yeah.
It was at about hour 105, 110.
Yeah.
110, and where there was a comment about how did we get to looking in people's living rooms, and Attorney Broadwell stepped in without even realizing, I think, that she wasn't sure where that came from the language.
Okay.
And he got into, well, we went there because, kids and other people don't want this in their face. And over these 5 times of saying marijuana is okay in Denver, we've seen this constant theme of, provided you use it, discreetly.
And let me just say, Broadwell talked about the five votes that the Denver voters have gone to, where they've all said yes to decriminalizing, to medical marijuana, 5 times it's gone to the voters, and 5 times overwhelmingly legalization, decriminalization has passed.
Well, let's throw in thank you, Mason Tvert.
Thank you,
'Cause,
Mason.
He takes far too much grief right now, and those are all Mason. All of those suckers are Mason.
And Mason did a great job at the city council today, because he specifically spoke to the issue that this ordinance would put into effect what Warren was just talking about, which is the privacy of your own home would no longer be the privacy of your own home.
Well, and we're recriminalizing this thing. I mean, we're tossing back in jail and a fine. Jail, like a lot of jail, if you wanted to.
Worse than a year. It would be worse than a year ago.
Yeah, it seriously would be.
Yeah.
And it would be up to the discretion of the police. And lo and behold, we saw some. Okay. How much crap have we given Councilman Lopez in the last 6 months? And
Chonis? Chonis. Warren, what color are your chonis?
I don't know. But
I know what
I don't
color
want
they
to
are.
talk about my underwear. Anyway, it's nice that
Paul Lopez talked about his underwear at city council today.
Did he talk about his or other people's? Because I don't want to let that,
Chonis. Today, TIL. Chonis.
Yeah, that's a Tuesday night issue. We don't do that anymore. That's a whole other story.
But we'll talk about that later.
Man. So he actually got into the fact that some of his constituents, that might bite them in the butt, because that could lead to more police inside, based on, hey, we saw him do this or we smelled this. And we're talking smell, and there was a lot of discussion of, if the smell wafts over the fence, can you call for the police? And yeah, as written, you can. And
there were members of Smart Colorado, which is an extremely anti-marijuana group of people who are extremely concerned about what marijuana is going to do to our children, and they feel like this is a really appropriate approach. And it makes me so sad for these women and for their kids, that they're so terrified of marijuana. They've got so many other things to be concerned about than the smell of marijuana from someone's backyard.
Georgia, they had an instance of a couple in Denver who the smoke was blowing in their child's window. They had a fan blowing it out, and the people smoking the weed had the audacity to complain to the police about the noise of the fan.
Well, and one of the things that also was brought up today in the city council meeting during public comment was the fact that what this ordinance is going to do is it's going to cause those already contentious neighbor relationships to get even worse. And I think that there's some validity to that.
Well, there is some validity to that, and there's some validity. Okay. There was a lot of discussion about why aren't the current laws enforced, and then it's going to get really interesting, because I'm not sure people realize the extent of the weird little nuances of the laws in Denver, whether it's the smell of dog poop that can be complained about, whether it's weeds in the backyard that can be complained about, whether it's overgrow in terms of bushes, trees, fencing, staining. I mean, this could get into a real pissing match back and forth.
Absolutely. We're going to need to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what happened at this meeting, what this proposition means, and what they're going to do next. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com. Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm in the studio with my producer, Chris, and my guest, Warren Edson, who is talking about the Denver City Council meeting and the proposed amendments to city ordinances that would concern the possession and consumption of marijuana, including people getting in trouble because someone smells it. So I had this funny experience. Can I just tell you?
Or mere possession. I mean, because really the issue today was mere possession.
That's a huge issue. Talk about why that's a big deal.
Well, because it's mere possession. I mean, first of all, let's backtrack because we need to put in a disclaimer that we talked about 3 distinct approaches, there were 4.
I'm sorry, you were right. I was wrong.
There was purely public
First time
property,
ever.
meaning government-owned facilities such as parks, sidewalks, etc. Public plus quasi-public property, which means stores, restaurants, facilities like Mile High Stadium, Pepsi Center. Then there's
Rocky Stadium.
Private to public, meaning you're on your private property and the smell and or sight drifts to the sidewalk and or streets or places where people are legally situated. And finally, private to private, which means you're standing in your friggin' backyard. It goes over your 12-foot privacy fence and your neighbor smells it and calls it in. So those are the 4 different things they were talking about today, with a lot of focus on the first 2, meaning purely public and public plus quasi-public, and lots of debate over what happens if you're in your privacy or in home and the smell's going elsewhere. But then this idea that if you have a bag in your pocket and are in the 16th Street Mall, that you could get arrested under this.
Why the 16th Street Mall? Why did they single that particular shopping district out?
Well, let's take it a step further.
Yeah.
Sorry, council person, and you know that we love you, but who's the council person for the 16th Street Mall?
Albert Brooks.
Oh, and he wasn't there
No,
today.
he's in Europe as part of some sort of leadership fellowship.
Which is really cool.
Which is so cool, but
it's
for some
very
reason he doesn't get
odd that
internet
today,
service.
That we focus on parks, and we focus on, and then they throw in the 16th Street Mall. So, Wash Park, City Park, all the parks. Then the 16th Street Mall, and the representative from there isn't even there. And then they talk about banning use, public display, and possession in those places. And so that means, you could be passing through on the light rail and have a bag in your pocket and get a ticket under this.
I mean, technically.
Well, technically, but there was this really weird discussion where they talked about, well, you can't have a bottle of, what was it,
Jack Daniels
in the park. No, you probably can't. But then they said you can't have it in the 16th Street Mall. Bullshit. You can have it in the 16th Street Mall. You can't display it. You can't consume it. You can't have it open. But you can buy it at one of the liquor stores just off the 16th Street Mall. Get on the 16th Street Mall bus, travel the whole damn 16th Street Mall, go up to the new light rail stop, get on the light rail, travel it all the way down to Highlands Ranch, and legally get out. And that's not that's not illegal. And that was really mischaracterized today.
Well, I also felt like they missed some like kind of normal ways that people live their lives. They said that you would never go to the park with a bottle of booze unless you intended to drink it in the park. And I don't think that that's true. So you use that same example. So you went
I don't think you'd have it on you.
Sure. What if you happen to go to the grocery store or go to the liquor store and then you were walking home or driving home and you decided you were going to hang out in the park for a bit? I don't think that that's unreasonable.
Okay, would you leave it in your car or would you get out and sit at the park bench with, I am going to hang here at the park reading my book and I'm going to have my bottle of Skinny Girl margaritas next
I do like
to me,
my Skinny Girl.
but I'm not going to open it.
I mean,
Really?
yes.
You'd
I mean,
leave
I
it
think.
in your car.
But what if I took? What
I'm
if I
actually
took the
agreeing
bus?
with Dak.
What if I took the bus?
That's different.
And I was waiting for the. I was
guess-
waiting for the bus, and the
well,
next
there's
bus wasn't going to be there for
wiggle
30
room.
minutes.
There's slight wiggle room, but I mean, it's still.
Nonetheless,
But it's blatantly obvious in the mall. Okay.
blatantly obvious on the mall.
Anyway, what's left in this thing? I mean, at the end,
What
it's going to get changed a lot. As we said, there's going to be an October 28th meeting, maybe kicking over till the middle of November. There's going to be a couple meetings and public comment in front of the actual city council. So we will follow that here on iCannabis Radio, and maybe these other guys will, even when I'm not here.
I doubt it.
Probably
It's
not.
only you, babe. I mean, overwhelmingly, the city council did say that they felt like this was overreaching. They felt like Hancock's.
The head of the city council said that, and then the others were like, "Oh, we don't agree with you."
Well, no, I mean,
Miss Montero did not agree with the
Miss Mon-
statement that was overreaching.
well, I don't even consider her. Sometimes I really wonder what goes through her mind. Like she lives in such a different world.
Do not include that dog food plant in any of these discussions because that is a commercial building.
For those of you who don't live here,
You're not allowed to include
I'm
it.
going to include it because it's my show.
Can't include it.
Of course I can.
Nope.
So
You're gonna get another slander
Purina
and
Dog
libel
Chow
lawsuit
has
against you. How many?
has a
Just pile 'em
factory
up.
here, where they make dog food,
Where they
and
manufacture cows into dog food. Okay.
and there is a smell that
If
envelops
the wind blows from the north.
the bulk of the city downtown. And you can imagine what it smells like when dog food is being produced. If you drive past on I-70, right past it, you can taste it. The air is so thick
But they
with
have
it.
a picture of a pretty puppy on the building.
It does say puppy chow on
Come
the
on.
building. It is one of the vilest smells I've ever smelled. And by the way, if you've got some other smells that you would like me to send out to Mayor Hancock that we'd like to tack on to this bill,
It's a commercial facility.
I have juniper bushes.
We are not talking about that.
I think we need to get rid of juniper bushes in public places because they smell awful. No juniper bushes.
Yeah, whatever.
So go to my Facebook page and just post your noxious smells that you want me to pass on to Mayor Hancock. I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep you posted on what's going on in the city council. Hopefully, something reasonable will come out of this proposal.
Okay. Yeah. You just mentioned city council and reasonable in the same sentence. Okay.
You know, I sent a
We'll
text
work
to
with it.
Mason after Mason Tvert after he testified today, and I called it the shitty council. I thought it was really clever.
That's not clever.
I thought it was pretty clever. Shitty council, get
whatever.
it? City council, Chris gets it. Chris thinks I'm funny. It's probably because I'm pay him, but nonetheless. So the other thing that we have going on locally in Colorado, which is more of a statewide issue, not just a Denver issue, is this Proposition AA, which is the excise and sales tax on marijuana.
The AA thing confused me. I thought you were talking about the Jeffco Social Services budget deficit, but never mind.
No, that's not what I was talking about.
Okay.
So this is going to be on our mail-in ballots that should be sent any day now, right?
Wait. Okay.
Yes.
Not to go all William Breeze on you.
Uh-oh, here we
And
go.
I'm using probably I'm sure he's trademarked it and copyrighted it, and now I'm going to get my own cease and desist tomorrow. It's not a mail-in. It is, but you can also like show up and vote. So stop telling people.
Are
they
you
have
sure?
To mail. Yes.
I mean, we've had mail-in only elections before. I thought this.
Go look.
Okay.
It isn't.
Okay, I'll look.
They're like polling data. I was going to say old people, but I meant elderly people down by the Safeway at 20th and Emerson are all excited because they get to set up their things. And
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
There's polling. You really have to do that.
Okay,
So you
I
can
say
show up
correct.
and vote that day. So don't get all discouraged if you don't forget to register to vote by mail or don't send it in or lose it.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know.
So let's talk about Proposition AA. What is it?
Taxes on us. Well, here's the thing. You're just talking about that, but we have Proposition AA, which is taxes on a state level, both an excise and a retail tax that Georgia can detail for you ad nauseum.
Yes.
But we're also going to have in whatever city you live in, if your city decided that they're not going to be fascist and accept recreational marijuana,
They're
also
fascist if they don't accept recreational marijuana. High five, baby.
no.
High five, baby.
So
Oh, Chris, high five me just because it feels
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
then you'll have local vote too, because if you're in like Pueblo or Denver or that's the problem, isn't it?
Longmont.
Well, no, like Aspen, Frisco, Breckenridge, Durango,
Aurora.
Park County,
Ooh, I like Park County.
Grand County. Some of those unincorporated places, you'll get to vote on whether or not they adopt a local tax if they end up proposing it. And so it'll be Prop AA plus your local taxes plus the regular old taxes. Because that's what everybody keeps forgetting is that the
That's right.
marijuana taxes here are special taxes, which are on top of your current local retail sales tax and I think it's a 2.9% state sales tax.
So the proponents say, and I'm gonna pull an email that I got from Brian Vincente.
Wait,
Sorry,
well, okay, who's a calculator?
I do.
So,
Can we turn the camera to Warren, who is going to do math?
People, you got the numbers, right?
Yes.
Taxes.
The sales tax numbers.
We're going to go all Ross Perot because we have state, right?
Yep.
So we start with 2.9, right?
Yep.
And then what? AA adds retail. Okay, and then AA adds
Oh, well, AA as
15 of retail, right?
right, and then 15 of excise. An excise tax is the tax from a wholesaler to a retailer. So typically that's not taxed, but there is a special, you can impose a special excise tax that would allow the taxation of a wholesale transaction. So then there's city taxes, and those
What in Denver,
seven
the base city tax?
7.72%.
No, well, I thought that was actually a combination of the 2.9 plus the city tax, you know?
Oh, I thought it was 7.79.
Okay. Anyway, so we have a city sales tax plus
Bless you.
what is being voted on then? 3.5 to 15%?
Yep.
Never mind.
That's not a pretty color.
So those are the numbers we're looking at in taxes. And then it's a matter of, right, do you want to explain to your listeners how you want to explain that excise?
So the excise tax, as I said, is that wholesale tax from the wholesaler to the retailer. Now, for the most part in Colorado, because currently the wholesaler in marijuana is also the retailer, they would be taxing themselves. And so they're going to they're going to be pricing themselves and taxing themselves. And what's going to happen is, no matter who is the wholesaler, what typically happens when there's an excise tax is that the retailer then adds that to the price of their retail product. So ultimately, it becomes the consumer's burden because the price is increased to cover the cost of that excise tax.
And so assuming, okay, because I mean, part of me, the libertarian in me says, what the hell? When have we ever seen the government choose the lower tax? When have we seen the government reduce a tax? Says, what are we really looking at? We're looking at a base state tax of 2.9%. We're looking at an AA-approved voter tax of 10 to 15% retail, which will most likely be 15 because they'll max it out, plus a city tax where they're baiting us with 3.5 to 15%. But who's kidding whom? It's going to be 15%. So we have AA with 15, the city with 15, the state with 2.9, ending up with 32.9 as a base retail sales tax. Plus, however, the excise tax affects you, which will probably be the equivalent of 5% on a base level, as Georgia was saying. So that's how, you end up with 37.9% tax with approval of both the city tax and the state tax. And that sucks.
And that's going to fall in the consumer's lap. That is, I mean, that's what happens is we end up paying for all of it. It's like,
well,
think
and it
about
forces
gasoline.
people to the black market because what? Your $100, whatever it is, half ounce, all of a sudden becomes $133, And my buddy will get, it throws it back into the black market and defeats the purpose. On top of that, I mean, we've had audits that said both the state regulatory system for marijuana and the city regulatory system blew money out their butts. I mean, they did not handle their money well. And so now we're proposing to give them a whole lot more money.
And for what we don't know. So we're going to talk a little bit about that when we return.
Why do we need the money to regulate them?
That's right. That's right. We're going to talk about that when we return. We're going to talk about the numbers and where.
And alcohol. A lot more people drink booze, okay? And we spend a lot less money regulating it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah.
My husband's not being husbandly. So we were talking about the proposed tax through Proposition AA, and let me just give you the email that I received from Brian Vincente as the co-director of the campaign to regulate marijuana like alcohol, as well as a proponent for the Committee for Responsible Regulation, and his encouraging us to vote yes on Proposition AA. And he said, Colorado voters will have the opportunity to express their support for Proposition AA, the statewide measure to establish excise and sales tax on non-medical marijuana. As the campaign that backed Amendment 64 last year, we strongly encourage you to vote yes on Proposition AA. I don't do that. I'm just reading. When we campaigned
Nice.
for Amendment 64, we knew that making marijuana legal in the state of Colorado would send shockwaves across the country. In particular, we knew that it would force the federal government to respond in some fashion. When the U.S. Department of Justice finally conveyed that the Obama administration's position, it was quite favorable. They said that they would respect Colorado's new law as long as there were strict regulations in place and, which is bolded and underlined, the necessary funds for enforcement. The choice right now is simple. If you want Colorado to be the first place in the world with a fully legal and regulated market for marijuana cultivation and sales, vote yes on Proposition AA. On the other hand, if you prefer the uncertainty of not knowing whether the federal government will interfere with the system, vote no and hope for the best. He goes on to say, we want the certainty of moving forward. If it turns out that 10% sales tax on marijuana is more than is needed to enforce the state regulations, the legislature has the power to lower the rates. But for now, we need to send the signal to the federal government that we are serious about regulating the system
Wait,
effectively.
stop. Is anybody aware of any time in the history of the United States where they lowered taxes? Like in any state, municipality?
I mean, especially in an economy like we're in right now.
They've run out.
Right.
But in terms of intentionally
Saying, oh gosh, we don't need this money anymore. Silly. Hey, thanks so much for paying for so long. But you know what? We're going to ratchet it back just a little bit. So he goes on to say, thank you for joining us and voting yes on Proposition AA. I just want to be clear that I'm voting no on Proposition AA, and here's why. I think that the scare tactics of, oh my gosh, if you don't vote yes, the federal government's going to come in and bust us all is unfair. And here's
thinking
why.
The crappy audit from on Med in the city would have the federal government here a lot quicker than.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, because it's not like there won't be any taxes if this doesn't pass. It's not like there's not going to be massive licensing fees by these businesses. So let's take I'm just a bill like I'm only a bill kind of schoolhouse rock step back here, because traditionally the cost of enforcement is borne by the licensing cost on the businesses that need to be enforced and regulated.
Not on the consumers.
Not on the consumer.
That's right.
Taxes. And while there are some sin taxes, those are dealt with as sin taxes as opposed to some bullshit attempt to disguise them as regulatory costs. But now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Well, here's what I don't know. What I don't know is this cost for enforcement. What I know is that the city and the state got their asses handed to them for how poorly they've been.
We need a lot of really fancy SUVs, so we need your dinero.
Right. So we know that they leased a lot of cars that they couldn't afford. But I have the numbers right now through the third quarter of the fiscal year. And these are the Colorado Medical Marijuana Dispensaries retail sales and state tax by county. Year to date, the state has received. Are you ready for this?
And wait, but before we get to the numbers, let's stress that all anybody wants is really to have an honest discussion about what the potential numbers are,
right,
as opposed to basing these taxes on bullshit
guesses.
Numbers out of CSU that were created a year and a half ago, as opposed to the real numbers Georgia's about to lay down in front of you. Because, every quarter the numbers get bigger and bigger.
Sure.
And this debate gets more and more awkward until this vote happens. So anyway.
Well, I mean, the punchline here is that year to date, the end of the fiscal year, for third quarter fiscal year 2012-13, which is where we are now, $6.227 million in tax revenue.
Well, and let's be clear to the listeners that that's based on the current Colorado state sales tax of 2.9%, not like 32.9%, but get rid of that first three. Just the 2.9 part of it, not the 2.9 part.
I mean, it's really kind of outrageous to me. There were just under $250,000 in retail sales. I'm sorry, $250 million. Just a $250 million. $224,927,000 in retail sales at the end of the third quarter of the fiscal year, not at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of the third quarter of the fiscal year. Thus, the 6.2
like alcohol.
Right. That's the $6.2 million in tax revenues. Again, I haven't seen the figures. You can find how much it is to enforce alcohol enforcement online. You can't find how much it is the program cost for medical marijuana enforcement, but $6.2 million is a significant amount of money. Now, we know that they've reduced staff. We know that they're not doing the visits like they're supposed to be doing. So their costs are being covered absolutely now by sales tax. As Warren suggested, the fact of the matter is there should be licensing fees and application fees that are covering those costs. So I don't know what's happening to these sales tax dollars. They're clearly not being used for enforcement. They're clearly being used for the rest of our budget deficits. Not okay and not fair. And so when looking at voting for or against Proposition AA, I encourage you to think about these numbers and to think about the fact that we ought to have licensing fees that adequately reflect the cost of the program, and our sales tax dollars can actually go to, I don't know, paying for other things in that our budgetary restrictions and our poor economy aren't allowing us to fund, and not just padding the pockets of our government who isn't spending their money wisely. So look at these numbers and don't look at the projections from CSU. Those aren't adequate numbers. Those are guess numbers. These are real numbers from current dispensaries. So add retail stores on top of this, and our numbers are going to be over the top. They're going to be incredible, and we're going to be able to pay for adequate enforcement of our regulations.
No, according to the CSU study, there's not actually going to be an increase in marijuana sales next year.
I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I've ever heard.
Well, what's your problem?
Well, I mean, I tell you right now, I know a lot of marijuana consumers who are not currently patients because they don't feel like they don't have a medical condition.
Whose fault is it going to be when the feds come in and shut this down?
Mine?
Theirs.
Theirs. So please know your information, and please recognize that the sales tax dollars are out there, and the licensing fees. The numbers are there. The numbers. All I did was Google. Listen, I just to get these figures. Mm-hmm. All I did was Google. Colorado medical marijuana retail sex. Wow.
What is she?
That's my next issue. Yeah. You know that. That's my next issue that I'm going to.
She's not allowed to do that here at the office or in the studio or at home. She has to do that from amusements.
Right. All I did was Google Colorado medical marijuana retail sales revenue, and the numbers from the Colorado Department of Revenue popped up. It wasn't difficult. They're not hidden, but people seem to be ignoring them because they want these.
But Georgia, they were available since last March, and they weren't part of this. They still aren't part of this discussion.
And I don't get that.
October.
I don't get that.
And again, that's all we're asking for is that we vote no on this whole mess, so that there can be an honest discussion during this legislative session, looking at actual numbers as opposed to make-believe numbers. Because once they set these things, we're stuck. And you know, the citizens of Colorado, the medical cannabis and regular cannabis consumers shouldn't pay the cost of legalizing it across the country.
That's right. And, Kim in the chat room brought up the issue of, well, gosh, they have reduced and are looking at reducing again the cost of getting your being on the medical marijuana registry. Totally different.
It only took $12 million in the popper to decide, man, I guess we got to do that again. But so Kim, how awesome is it that we came from whatever, I want to say it was $182.
I didn't have a card when it was that expensive.
Down to like the low 100s, down to the high 100s, down to 35, down to...
No, I wasn't. I got a
what's
card.
What's it going to be, like 1850?
22. It's at 22. So I got a card.
Right now it's 22?
No, right now it's 35. Okay. They're looking at lowering it to $22. And that's unheard of.
I'm looking for $8.25.
I want $4.20.
No, I want the cost of a beer at Coors Field.
There you go. There you go. But Kim, you're right. I mean, it's so unusual. But because there's regulations around what they can spend that money on, they can't have this surplus. Now previously,
well, the general fund can't rate it.
Right.
They can, but it takes legislative action,
and
as
which
opposed to let's
they've
just
done,
transfer it over to the other account.
which they've done in the past. But we're going to take a quick break, and thank you, Warren, so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, but right when we come back with a break, we're going to discuss, Jenny Cush's dirty little secret, which is not only, going to wreck people's image of her, but also people's image of a certain medical marijuana center that helped out this information. And we'll talk about it after this commercial break.
We'll be right back.
Could there be a better cliffhanger?
That's awesome.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
The Law Office of Edson, Maton, and Matz provides criminal defense, family law, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running a medical marijuana center, optional premises cultivation operation, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout the state of Colorado. We're focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. WarrenEdson.com. Edson, Maton, and Matz in Denver, 303-831-8188, and in Aspen, 970-948-7183. WarrenEdson.com.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Okay, we're back.
Hey, welcome back. So
Serious journalism here.
you've got a question.
Well, it just became this. There's sometimes when iCannabis Radio runs into an issue where we have to decide, do we disclose information that could be hurtful or harmful to members of the iCannabis community, or do we hold that within? And this time our journalistic principles overcame our holding it within, and we had to release this information, particularly on a night like tonight, meaning a Monday night football game.
So we want to talk a little bit about a secret that Jenny Cush had that not very many people knew about. Mm-hmm. Warren was one of the few people that she shared this with.
Jeremy, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Tonight we're actually going to disclose that Jenny was a San Diego fan.
Superchargers!
And we waited till a Monday night football game where it was Colts Chargers to actually disclose this to the general public, because we know how crushing this can be to her, the image, what's gone on here over the last 4 months. And Jeremy, it's.
Jeremy knew. He loved her anyway.
Yeah, I knew. I took her to a Chargers-Broncos game a few years back.
And we were going to disclose this too to, absolutely wreck on MMC's reputation, that being Mile High Wellness Center, who advertises with this station, actually donated tickets so that she could go see them a couple years back.
Yep. With you, Jer.
Maybe she took me. Shit.
Yeah, she did. She did.
You, but we won't get into those details.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about seeing her that night. Not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. It was an awful night for me. So Jer, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Good. We are talking to co-host of Sexpot Radio, Jeremy DePinto, Reverend Jeremy Charles, and you just came back from a little trip to see your fam.
Yes.
And how was that?
Texas. That was awesome. This is the first time I went to Texas where I didn't come home hating it. I usually talk shit about Texas because it's Texas, but this time there was really good. There's a few pictures floating around of me and Paul in a store called Charming Charlie that my daughter likes to shop in. It's a for girls store,
Oh, yeah.
princesses or whatever the hell, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, they have cute jewelry.
And so there's pictures floating around online of me and Paul acting, I don't know, normal, I guess. Normal for us, Jenny Cush style anyway. So they're a little fruity, but, other than that, it was an awesome trip. Saturday we went to the pumpkin patch, or a place called Sweetberry Farms.
Fun.
Huge. Massive flower fields. I took a bunch of pictures. We went into the corn maze. I got sunburned. I sweat. It was almost 100 degrees.
Whoa.
And I flew back to Colorado on Sunday, yesterday, into nice, cool 40s and 50s. To hail this morning. It's like, welcome home.
Right.
Snow later this week. It's when we skip fall. Although I really want to go on a leaf cruise.
I'll go with you.
Find somebody to go on a leaf cruise with me in Georgia.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Absolutely.
Excuse me, yeah. The leaves are changing. So not in Texas though. It's hot there. It's still. They have summer fall.
It's hot and muggy and blah.
So the point really is, it flooded while I was there too.
On what?
Overnight. Well, where we were at got 5.34 inches overnight.
Whoa.
And then South Austin got like 11.84 inches. I know, and it's like, how? How does that happen? But I was in the Colorado one that, it seems to be going around.
Yeah.
Although Stevie Ray Vaughan never wrote a song about no Colorado floods. So.
Oh, that's so sad. I'm so sorry to hear that they had such scary floods, such scary floods. Weather has just been, for those people that think global warming is bullshit, where are you? Because the weather is acting crazier than it's ever acted before. Polar bears are practically in our backyard right now.
But they say by 2015 that the Arctic will be covered in more ice than we can handle. So
we'll see. So
we will see.
So aside from you being a part of revealing Jenny's dirty little secret that Warren shares with her, being Chargers fans in a Broncos world, we have been talking about some exciting things that are happening on this show for the past few weeks, and this show is going to take a radical turn. Do you know anything about that?
I might know a little something about that, yeah.
Yeah. So this show has historically been, pretty tame, pretty news oriented. Every once in a while I throw in a little something about Miley Cyrus and some Justin Bieber and, possibly some Amanda Bynes. But we're going to throw in a little something different, huh, Jer?
I think so. And shake things up a little bit and maybe make it, don't want to say any less respectable, but maybe a little bit more controversial or racy. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe more sexy. Although it can't be any more sexy because you're already the host.
Aww.
So,
well,
I don't know. I may have dug myself into the corner with that one, but, yeah.
So effective next week, this show is no longer going to be the Georgia show. This show is going to be Jeremy and I, and we are going to co-host the show, and it is going to be incredibly different, and you guys are going to love it. Jeremy and I could not be more similar and more different at the same time, and you will hear perspectives that you've not quite heard before. Jeremy and I are the best of friends and share much love, but we also share a lot of differences, and we are going to share all of that with you guys who are listening. So Jeremy, I could not be more excited to be co-hosting a show with you.
Well, I'm really excited too, just because I'm driving, so I may not sound all jumping for joy, but I should throw that out there. I'm driving right now.
You personally are driving a car?
I'm personally driving a car right now.
Wow.
Driving to the store.
Wow.
So I get these things. But I really wanted to do it on my own so I could, just do it. And
good for you.
I'm doing it.
Good for you.
Power to the people. And
Power
it's
to
a
you.
5-speed, so it's a little weird with my cast and everything. So.
Yeah, and being on the phone.
Yeah. But I haven't blinked since I've been in the car, and I've been in the car since before you called me. So my eyes are pretty dry, but I see everything. I see all.
You do see all.
But it doesn't really matter if you see all, because I saw that lady coming at me, and there wasn't shit I could do about it. So, don't go. I see you, fucker. See? All right. Well, turn into a parking lot, and everybody turns stupid again.
Well, I'm really excited, Jeremy, and we are going to have a fantastic show, and people are not going to know what hit them when you and I hit the airwaves.
I am very excited. I was not very happy to necessarily do the last show of Sexpot Radio the other week. But I'm really excited that I still get to keep playing this game, although in a slightly different level, because it's going to be with you.
And
so it has to be a little bit more respectable.
No, it's just different. I just don't see that we're going to tie anybody up. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe we will. I did find that interesting tape on your bedside table.
Yeah, the bondage tape.
Yeah.
I was scared of it until Jenny tied me up with it, and it was like, all right, now I just don't like being tied up. But it turns out it's not tape at all.
It's not
tape. Looks like tape and sticks to itself. Peels right off.
I told Warren, I said, Warren, I found some duct tape on the side of the bed, and Warren looks at me and he's like, that wasn't duct tape. I'm like, how did you know?
I choked on my drink. That's awesome, Warren. I'm glad that you threw that out there.
All right, my dear. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited, and everyone's going to be thrilled. And next week, people will be listening to you and I.
Yay, I look forward to it.
All right, I love you.
I love you.
Talk to you later. Bye. So super excited that Jeremy is going to be co-hosting this show Mondays from here on out. It is going to be wonderful. It is not going to be Sexpot Radio. There is no new Sexpot Radio. It is you can't recreate that. But certainly we want Jeremy to stay on the air, and I want him to be with me. So it'll be wonderful. Thank you so much for listening tonight. Oh, I just got kissed in the mouth by a dachshund. It was awesome, little wiener dog. As always, a fun week on iCannabis Radio. We have some new shows going on. On Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have CD Wednesdays with... What is it called? CD Weeds Days. Oh, I can't even say that. CD Weeds Days. That's very clever. With Halem's Adam Dunn. And Thursday, we have the Hemp Connoisseur from 4 to 5. Friday night, Reefer Madness Radio with Citizen J and Mark. And, of course, Monday from 3 to 4 in the lab with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs. And, of course, next Monday, please don't miss Jeremy and my first show together at 7 p.m. We want to thank our sponsors, Mile High Wellness, Noda Urban Garden Supply, Cuffle Collimore and Company, Edson Maton and Matt's Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Medical Marijuana 101, and Run on Grass. Thanks to my guest tonight, Warren Edson, and, of course, my favorite producer, Chris. And this is Diesel right here, the one who kisses your mouth. Thanks, I'm Georgia, and I'll see you next week with Jeremy.